Steph Curry, and he's known as the greatest shooter of all time. But today that changes, because today we're gonna make him the greatest dunker ever and see how it alters his career. And with him now having no flaws in his offensive game, the goal of today's video was simple: outshine all of the legends that came before him and become the greatest player of all time. And with all that out the way, let's see what happens in his career. Steph's offensive dominance would be put on display in his rookie season, as he was the clear #1 option for the Warriors and would average over 22 points per game in year 1. And with Steph being able to manipulate opposing teams' defenses so early on in his career, it was no surprise that he would be taking home the Rookie of the Year trophy. But although he would break into the mold early and become an elite scorer in only his rookie season, and would also have lots of individual success, that wouldn't be further from the case for the team as a whole, as the Warriors have a pretty underwhelming season and win only 36 games in the regular season. In Steph's sophomore season, he would take another jump offensively and would up his scoring average to over 27 points per game. And at this point, it's pretty apparent that he's starting to blossom into one of the best offensive players in the NBA. And him, along with the Golden State Warriors, are starting to introduce a new offensive scheme that the NBA has never seen before, launching 3 after 3 and driving past defenders the second they bite. But although Steph would continue to rise in play, the Warriors still lacked team success in his sophomore season, and would only bounce up to 39 wins on the year. And at this point, with 2 lackluster seasons back to back, it's very apparent that Steph is going to need some help to get the Warriors over the hurdle. And well, that would be the case in season 3. In season 3, the Splash Bros would finally be formed, and Steph and the Warriors would finally get the help that they so desperately desired. In this season, Steph would put on offensive clinic after offensive clinic in the regular season. It would vastly propel his scoring average to over 30 points a night. And with Steph and Clay being able to attack from long range, and Steph finally having the help along the perimeter, the Warriors would be destined for a playoff push this season. But unfortunately, although the Warriors would improve in the regular season, they weren't ready for the postseason just yet, and would be eliminated in the first round by the Memphis Grizzlies. After a disappointing run in their postseason debut, the Warriors would use their early exit as motivation going into next season. The Warriors would start this season off blazing hot, and Steph is starting to cement himself as one of the best players in all of basketball, and that would be put on display this season, as Steph would put up an impressive 32 points a night, and the Warriors find themselves winning 65 games in the regular season. And with Steph dominating the league offensively, it's no surprise that the Warriors would have championship aspirations heading into the postseason. In the postseason, Steph would take full control over the Warriors offense, as he would launch 3 after 3 and would drive to the paint and posterize anybody that got in his way. And with Steph playing at such an outlandish level, it was no surprise that he would carry the Warriors through the first 3 rounds of the playoffs. And the first 3 rounds would be a blur, but that wouldn't be the case for the NBA Finals, as the Warriors find themselves matched up against King James out in South Beach, and I think it's safe to say this is going to be no easy task. In the finals, it would be neck and neck throughout the entirety of the series, with both teams being able to manipulate the opposing defenses. Eventually, the series will be all tied up at 3 games apiece. And with Steph and Klay Thompson matching up against LeBron and D Wade, Game 7 is going to be a movie. In Game 7, everything will be on the line for both sides, and both teams would be playing with fire. The game would be close the whole way through, and it would go down to the wire into the closing moments of Game 7. With 38 seconds remaining, the Warriors have the ball out in transition. Clay for 3. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, I did not have hope that the Warriors going to come back, but currently it is 100-1 to 100-1 with 30 seconds remaining. Wade has the ball, has Steph Curry on an island, kicks it to Ray Allen. Ray Allen wide open, misses it. The shot clock is turned off, and Wade has the ball with Steph Curry on an island, and the Heat are going to get the last shot. Kicks it to LeBron. LeBron post fade. Oh my god, he missed it. No! No way! No! Greg Oden just had a potentially game-winning putback. Now, Steph or Clay is going to have to get a shot up here. I don't trust anybody else taking the last shot except for those two. Okay, 1.1, they're going to have to get something up, like, very fast. Steph launches it. No, bro. Oh, it was so close. The Warriors are not going to get their first championship this season. Although the Warriors couldn't get it done in the final stretch, Season 4 was a huge jump for the organization as a whole. But that still wouldn't stop the media from discrediting the Warriors organization, as they're starting to question, are the lights too bright for Steph Curry and his supporting cast? Well, the Dubs will have to answer that question this season. After the failure to capture the Larry O'Brien trophy last season, it was Steph's mission to start taking over the league. In the 2013-14 season, Steph is doing things that guards before him have never done before, leaping over defenders and dominating through every single defensive scheme that they're throwing at him. And the second they try to guard his dunk, he's gonna pull it from anywhere. And his scoring output would increase again this season, as he's officially averaging over 35 points per game and is no longer holding back, as he wins his first MVP award and is now being looked at as the best player in the league. Steph wouldn't be the only one seeing success this season, as the Warriors find themselves at the top of the Western Conference, and this season they're the title favorites heading into the playoffs. In the postseason, the Warriors would take care of business and would eliminate the Spurs, the Rockets, and the Clippers, all from playoff contention. But as expected, the finals wouldn't be such a breeze, as yet again they find themselves matching up against the Heatles out in Miami. In the finals, Steph and the Warriors would strike first, as Steph would abuse illegal screens and absolutely barrage the Heat with three-pointers, and the second they went to guard it, would drive down low and posterize Chris Bosh. And with LeBron, Bosh, and D-Wade having no defensive scheme to match Curry's dominance, the Warriors would eventually find themselves up 3-0 in the series. And in Game 4, the Warriors knew that they couldn't give this Heat team an opportunity, and that they need to close it out in Game 4. And with only 1 minute remaining, it's a close one out in South Beach. With only 1 minute remaining, the Warriors are up 6 with possession of the ball, and they can start draining some clock and then go for a 2 or a quick 3. Steph's driving in, kicks it to Draymond, and Draymond gets the easy dunk and puts the Warriors up 8. And the Heat are gonna have to come up with something right here. They're gonna need a quick 3. Wade in the corner on Curry. He's going down low for a hook, and he misses it. And yeah, the Warriors are up 8, and it doesn't look like the Heat are gonna foul. So the Warriors are gonna win their first NBA championship of this simulation this season. And as expected, Steph Curry is gonna win the Finals MVP. I don't think anybody saw this going to anybody else, so this isn't much of a surprise. After a successful championship run in the 2013-14 season, the Warriors are feeling on top of the world, and unfortunately, that would start to bite them in Season 6, and wouldn't play with the same desire that they played with in seasons past. And that was very apparent throughout the regular season, as the Warriors would fall to the 3 seed in the West and would no longer be the favorites heading into the postseason. Although they were no longer the favorites, the Warriors would decimate their Western Conference rivals throughout the first 2 rounds, and the Blazers and the Spurs would both get swept, meaning that the Warriors would find themselves back in the conference finals. But since the Warriors have gotten complacent, they are in for a rude awakening this series, as the Oklahoma City Thunder are playing at an outlandish and championship level and would eventually bounce the Warriors in only 5 games. And right when the Warriors thought that they were the best team in the association, they get embarrassed. In the 2015-16 season, the Dubs were determined to get the team back on track, and Steph would take the reins yet again. It would get back to averaging just north of 30 points per game, and with him now having the desire to win another NBA championship, it's no surprise that his level of play would award him with the MVP trophy. And with Steph back locked in, things were finally looking like they were going in the right direction for the franchise. But that couldn't be further from the truth, because the Warriors still find themselves in the middle of the pack in the Western Conference, and still have yet to be the favorites heading into the playoffs after their championship run. But although they didn't earn the 1 seed in the regular season, that doesn't mean they aren't a championship contender. And in the first round of the playoffs, the Warriors looked unstoppable, as they would bounce the Houston Rockets in only 5 games, but their postseason run wouldn't last much longer, after they get bounced out of the playoffs yet again by the Oklahoma City Thunder in only 6 games. After back-to-back disappointing seasons, the media would crucify Steph and the Warriors, claiming that they are one of the most overrated teams of all time and are a one-hit wonder. And after such criticism from the media, this would prompt the Warriors organization to seek revenge, and they would ultimately make a decision that would change NBA history.
They done made me mad, I've been keeping calm, constantly keep making cash, I've been getting bag after bag after bag, presidential shit, I rap my Maybach matte black, call me Mr.
Steph and the Warriors would recruit Kevin Durant in the offseason and would create the greatest team the NBA has ever seen. And with 2 of the greatest players of all time on the same team, this team had high aspirations and would be nothing short of remarkable in the 2016-17 season. The league would have no answer for the overwhelming offense of the Warriors, with Steph being essentially unstoppable in the paint and from long range, and KD being able to shoot over literally anybody. It's no surprise that the Warriors are on a totally different playing field, and that would be put on display in in the regular season, as the Warriors would win an NBA record 74 games in the regular season, and Steph would win yet another MVP. And heading into the postseason, it's very apparent that the Warriors are the championship favorites. Throughout the first 3 rounds, the Warriors had nobody stopping them in their tracks. And in only 12 games, the Warriors would go undefeated against opposing teams in their own conference and would find themselves back in the NBA Finals. With no surprise, the Warriors would match up against an underwhelming Miami Heat team to say the least, and would proceed to win games 1, 2, and 3 with ease. And after going 15-0 in their postseason debut with Kevin Durant, they are only 1 win away from an NBA championship. Game 4 was not even close. As you can see, the Warriors are basically up by 40, and there's no chance for the Heat to come back. And this means that the Warriors are going to go a perfect 16-0 in their postseason debut with this newly assembled roster. And with no surprise, it is going to be Steph Curry. I mean, you kind of have to assume that. He did win the MVP in the regular season, and he's essentially unguardable now with like unlimited finishing attributes, so I'm not really surprised. Coming fresh off another championship run, the Warriors are looking like the team to beat in the association. With 2 MVP caliber players on the roster and an amazing supporting cast, there's no surprise that the Warriors are looking to go back-to-back in this upcoming NBA season. And in this season, Steph would decide to take a backseat offensively and let KD run the show. And although the Warriors would decrease in success in the regular season, that wouldn't stop them from being the #1 seed in the Western Conference. The Warriors are finally deciding to play team basketball and no longer decide to run the offense through Steph Curry. And in the playoffs, that would be a lackluster decision nonetheless, as the Warriors find themselves in a Game 7 in the first round to the Minnesota Timberwolves. But heading into Game 7, Steph took the reins back. It reminded everybody that he is the best player in the world, and he would drop 44 points to seal the deal in Game 7, and the Warriors would progress to the second round of the postseason. And in the next 2 rounds, it would be a breeze, as the Thunder as well as the Rockets stood no chance with Steph no longer being in the backseat. And at this point, it's pretty apparent that Steph needs to carry the offense and lead the team on his own. And that would be the case for the finals as well, as the Toronto Raptors would be the last team standing in the Warriors' pathway to another NBA title. And in the finals, the Warriors would take no time to heat up, as the KD and Steph duo would torch the Raptors defense, and the Warriors would win 4 consecutive games to sweep the Raptors to win another title. And to spare you guys from the repetition, Season 10 would yet again go into the Warriors' favor, with the Warriors winning an outlandish 79 games in the regular season. And with no surprise, they would capture yet another Larry O'Brien trophy. And after winning multiple titles in a row, the only way to stop the Warriors is for them to implode internally. And with that in mind, Season 11 had some new changes for the Warriors dynasty, as after only 3 seasons, Kevin Durant would want to lead his own team and would head off to Brooklyn. And after all the previous success in seasons past, nothing could have prepared the Warriors for this season, as Klay would go down with a devastating knee injury and would be sidelined for the entirety of the season. And with KD no longer being on the roster, it was up to Steph and Draymond to carry the load. And it's safe to say it wasn't ideal. Individually, Steph would have an amazing season and would average a career-high 39 points per game, but unfortunately, his success wouldn't be enough to carry the Warriors in the regular season. And for the first time in Steph's career, the Warriors would fail to make the postseason and would only win 17 games in the regular season. After a beyond disappointing season, Steph knows exactly what he needs to do to revive the Warriors in Season 12. Unfortunately, Klay would still be sidelined for yet another season with injury, but that wouldn't matter with Steph Curry on the roster, as Steph would put the entire organization on his back and was determined to make it back to the postseason. With no surprise, Steph would run the offense entirely through him this year and would average 37 points per game along with 8 assists and would win another MVP award. And with Steph back in MVP caliber form, the Warriors would sneak into the playoffs as the 7th seed. In the postseason, it was very apparent that the Warriors are going to have to fight to see some success. And with them being the 7th seed and the underdogs, that's exactly what would happen in round 1. Although the Warriors were at a disadvantage, the Pelicans couldn't find an answer to stop Steph Curry, and he would absolutely decimate them in only 5 games. But unfortunately for the Warriors, their playoff push wouldn't last much longer, as the Utah Jazz would be a huge speed bump in the road for Steph and the Warriors, and they would get eliminated in 4 games. After 2 horrific seasons in a row, things would start to look up for the Warriors in season 13, as Klay would finally return from injury, and with Steph finally getting some more help with Klay back, the Warriors finally have a chance to become championship contenders yet again. The Warriors would start the regular season off scorching hot, and with Steph no longer being the lone wolf, the Warriors are looking scary. And in the regular season, the Warriors would find themselves back at the top of the Western Conference and would win 64 games on the year. And with the Warriors being the best team in the league, it's no surprise that Steph would win yet another MVP, cementing himself as one of the greatest players of all time. But at this point, it's known that regular season success means nothing, and the Warriors won't be satisfied until they get a glimpse of victory without KD. In the postseason, the Warriors would ultimately redeem themselves, and they would play spectacular basketball throughout the first 3 rounds. And with Steph, Draymond, and Klay firing on all cylinders as a trio, it's no surprise that they would find themselves back in the NBA Finals. And with the Warriors being back in the finals for the first time in 3 years, they're facing off against one of their toughest opponents to date in the Philadelphia 76ers. This series would be up for grabs the whole way through, and neither team would be backing down. Steph would dominate offensively per usual, and would attack the 76ers interior defense, and would proceed to launch some threes as well. And eventually the series would be all tied up heading into a Game 7. In Game 7, it would go down to the wire, with both Curry and Embiid playing at an all-time level and attacking the opposing defenses. It would be anybody's game to win heading into the final moments of Game 7. With only 36 seconds remaining, the Warriors have a 1-point lead, but don't have possession of the ball. Tobias Harris gets the ball down low, and the Sixers get a dagger in the post. Oh my god, it is so close and it's anybody's game to win. And the Warriors honestly have to win this championship because ever since KD left, they haven't looked like the same team. I don't want anybody else besides Curry taking this shot. Curry stepped back, driving on Harden, attacks Harden, loses the ball, and James Harden gets a game-winning steal. Oh my god, oh my god. And he makes the second. Yep, there's no shot for the Warriors to come back and their season is over. Although the Warriors would suffer a heartbreaking loss in season 13, they still made a jump from the disappointing seasons in seasons past. But heading into season 14, the media would buzz one last time, and it would state that Steph Curry would be retiring after this season, which means that this is the last shot for Curry and the Warriors to win another title. In the regular season, the Warriors organization would be playing at an elite level, destined to try to win Curry his last championship, and they would dominate the league in the regular season. The Warriors would find themselves winning 59 games on the year, and in typical Warriors fashion, they will be eyeing another piece of hardware to put in their collection in this last season. In the postseason, Steph would make it his mission to win it all, and throughout the first 2 rounds, Steph would have his way against the Western Conference foes, and would find himself in the conference finals against LeBron and AD out in LA. The series would be really close the whole way through, with 2 of the greatest players of all time dueling it out late into their careers, but ultimately it would be Steph who would be crowned victorious, and would eliminate the Lakers in only 6 games. But the Western Conference Finals means nothing with 4 more games to win. And regardless of the outcome, this would be Steph's last playoff series in a Warriors uniform. The Warriors would face off against an extremely talented Boston Celtics team in the NBA Finals. But long story short, Steph and the Warriors would be playing with fire. And Steph would play with a first step that people haven't seen since his rookie season. And Steph would proceed to hit dagger after dagger and would rise up for dunk after dunk and would ultimately defeat the Boston Celtics in only 5 games. And that means that the Warriors would yet again be crowned NBA champions.